Hi everyone, I'm Allie with the Potomac Bead Company, and what I'm going to show you today is how to do some of these wire pins. The wire pins are great gifts to give because you don't need to know wrist size or people's allergies or what they think they're going to wear it with or what length they like things. So the pins are a really great idea to make. It's turning fall in a lot of our bead store areas, and these are great for scarves, for hats, for bags, to put on in that cooler weather. A lot of times people use them. I've done these in a little bit of a beachy style because I'm at our Ocean City location today working, and we're going to need some materials to make these. So to make these pins, we're going to be working with an 18 gauge German style beading wire. I'm using the Beadalon brand German style 18 gauge wire. You can also do these with 16 or 14 gauge wire. The problem with that is with a thicker wire, you're going to have less options for when you're going to put on your beads. You're not going to be able to fit as many beads on the thicker wire. However, I do like the thicker wire usually to make the pins out of. So if you have a 16 or a 14 gauge wire, just find some beads that fit on. That's going to make you a nice pin as well. The reason I'm using the German style rather than like an art wire is because it's a little bit stiffer and it's going to keep its shape better for the pin. In addition to the wire, we're going to be using 3 sets of pliers. We are using a wire cutters to cut the wire, a round nose pliers to make some loops, and we're using a bent needle nose pliers that are going to be used to do some of our bending. Also, I have next to me a pen. You can use a pen or a mandrel for this, and those are going to be the tools that you need in order to work with this bracelet or to work on this pin. So now to start the pins, what I've done already is I've cut about 10 inches of my 18 gauge wire. I have my beads ready to go and my pliers are set ready for me to use. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my hands and I'm going to leave myself about 3 inches of wire, and I'm going to make a bend in half in my wire. So I'm bending my wire here and I have those 3 inches that are left. Makes a little fish. And I'm going to bend that back completely. I'm going to straighten out these wires then a little bit so that way they're lining up parallel. Once I have it bent back a little bit, I'm going to pull back about 2 inches. So I pull back about 2 inches, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold with my needle nose pliers. I'm holding right after those 2 inches, and I'm going to take the shorter piece of wire and I'm going to coil it around the longer piece. With the thicker wire, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. If you have trouble coiling, you can check out some of our other wire working videos on YouTube. And just pause this one and come back to it. After I have 2 or 3 wraps, I'm going to go in with my wire cutters and cut off my extra wire. Take my needle nose pliers again and do a little pinch down on it. And that's going to get that flush so that it's not going to grab onto any scarves or anything. The next thing I'm going to do is make my bend in my wire, which is going to be that little shepherd's hook that the pin itself is going to hook into. To do that, I'm holding my pen, and I'm going to hold about halfway between those loops, and I'm just going to bend the wire right over the pen. Again, you can use a mandrel, a knitting needle, anything will really work for that. Just something rounded. To make my little bend at the end for my wire to catch into, I'm going back with my flat nose pliers, my needle nose, and I'm just giving a little bend, and that's what that pin portion is going to grab into. Now I'm going to load all my beads, and you can load your beads on in whatever design you want, however long you want it to be. I'm just playing around a little bit with some beads here. It's just a free form design. Put my beads on, and I'm going to slide them right up to that loop there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make my little bends here around the ends. And that's going to be 2 times around the very end of my round nose pliers. So I'm going to be coiling in towards the pendant. And I'm pulling the wire around my round nose pliers 1 time. You're going to have to swing your pliers around and kind of reposition them. And you're going to go around a 2nd time as well. So you're going to have 2 little coils in there, and that's going to hold your beads in place, and it's also going to look and mimic the little end of a pin. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my wire so that it's ending near the end of this pin. So this one I made the eye pretty big, or the head pretty big of it, and I'm going to have a nice decorative little pin here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my wire so that it's ending somewhere here into this loop. So I'm going to take my wire cutters and I'm going to cut that pin end. I'm just doing a rough cut right now. And I'm going to get a nice bend in it then. And I'm just bending it by my hands. And that's going to get the bend in it so that that wire is just going to stick right in there for you. What you can do then is tweak it a little bit to see how it's going to catch in there. So I'm going to move it out of the way a little bit and see how it's going to catch. So I'm going to turn this up a little bit more at the ends here so that it really catches in there. There we go. It's going to catch right in there. And then lastly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that wire back out and I'm going to get ready for it to go into something by making a little bit more of a V cut. So I'm taking my wire cutters and I'm really on an angle here of my wire and I'm giving a nice snip. You can then take a file if you want to and file that down a little bit. You can also go in and kind of just shave it down with your wire cutters. But that's going to make a nice point so that way it doesn't mess up any of your fabrics that you're going into or that you're wrapping around. And that is how you're going to make some of these fun wire pins that you can give as gifts. They're great fall products, Christmas ideas, but have fun making these. You can use a variety of beads, a variety of gauges of wire. You can go back and embellish over the top with wire and kind of get fancy as well. So thanks a lot for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it and you watched some of our other YouTube videos. Check us out on Facebook, and if you have an opportunity, we'd love to see you in one of our store locations. So thanks a lot. Have a great rest of your day and enjoy making some of these pins.